Do you remember James Bond, Agent 007? That famous spy role helped Pierce Brosnan win a Golden Globe Award. It put him on Hollywood's red carpet and made him a big star. But being famous came with a big cost. A cost he had to pay for many, many years. Now, at 72 years old, Brosnan has finally talked about 5 actors who hurt him badly. These are people he still feels angry and sad about today. One friend hurt him badly just to become famous himself. His own son pulled him into a sadness he couldn't get out of, and the person who ended his career, it was the same person who once made him a legend and a superstar. In this video, we're going to tell you the real reasons why these people betrayed him, the real story behind what happened, and let me tell you, number 2 on this list will really shock you. It's going to surprise you a lot. Number 1. Daniel Craig, the man who took away his crown. It's really hard to imagine Pierce Brosnan hating James Bond. But behind that fancy tuxedo and spy character, there's a name that still makes him angry today. That name is Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig is the man who walked right into the role that Pierce had worked so hard to keep for so many years. He fought for decades to protect that role. When Daniel Craig was announced as the new James Bond in 2005, Brosnan wasn't watching proudly like a happy former Bond actor. No, he was watching as a man who felt like he was being quietly erased. Like someone was deleting him from history. After the movie Die Another Day became the highest-grossing Bond film ever made in 2002, Pierce really believed he would come back for Bond 21, the next Bond movie. He was still fit and healthy. He was still popular with fans, and he was already thinking of story ideas for the next film. Then one day, the phone rang. Someone said to him, "You were a great James Bond. Thank you very much, goodbye." That was it. Just 47 seconds on the phone, 47 seconds that destroyed 10 whole years of his loyalty and hard work. Behind that short, cold phone call were Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson, the producers. But it was Daniel Craig's big announcement that made Pierce's humiliation public, that made everyone see his embarrassment. Pierce later told the Guardian newspaper, "It was utterly shocking, completely shocking. I thought we were going to make Bond 21 together. Then suddenly, the rug was pulled from under me. It was like someone pulled the floor out from underneath his feet." Those words show more than just pain. They show how he felt thrown away, discarded like an old toy or movie prop that nobody wanted anymore. Daniel Craig became the shiny new face of the James Bond franchise. And he never even called Pierce, the man who had paved the way before him, the man who made it easier for him to get that role. Fans attacked Daniel Craig online. They said he was too blonde. They said he wasn't Bond enough to play the character. Meanwhile, Brosnan sat quietly and said nothing about it all. When Casino Royale came out in 2006, it was a huge success. Watching a franchise that he had helped bring back to life, now celebrating someone else's vision, someone else's ideas, that felt like betrayal happening right under the spotlight. Pierce never directly blamed Daniel Craig, not out loud. He even said nice things about him in interviews in later years. But behind every compliment there was a bruise, a hidden hurt. Brosnan called it the silent kill. That phrase tells you everything you need to know. It means his Bond legacy died without a single shot being fired, without any fight at all. Number 2. Christopher Brosnan, the son he couldn't save. Every list of people Pierce Brosnan resented always leads back to one name. A name that cuts deeper than all the rest put together. That name is Christopher Brosnan. This story wasn't about betrayal in Hollywood. It wasn't about movie politics or fame. This was about family, about blood, about love, and about the kind of hate and anger that comes from feeling completely helpless, from not being able to fix something no matter how hard you try. The pain started long before newspapers and tabloids started using the word junkie next to his son's name. When Pierce married actress Cassandra Harris in 1980, he didn't just get a wife. He also became a father to her 2 children, Charlotte and Christopher. He loved them like they were his own kids. He officially adopted them after their biological father, actor Dermot Harris, passed away and died. By all accounts, Christopher absolutely adored Pierce. They were close. They spent holidays together. They visited film sets together. They laughed together and had good times. But everything changed completely in 1991. That's when Cassandra died from ovarian cancer. Pierce buried the love of his life, his soulmate, and Christopher lost the only person who had ever really anchored him, the only person who kept him stable and grounded. What happened after that was a slow, painful spiral downward. Christopher tried his best to stay close to his father. He worked behind the scenes on Bond movies like Tomorrow Never Dies and The World Is Not Enough. But grief took control of his life. The sadness was too strong. In 1996, Christopher was fined for drunk driving. Just 1 year later, he was sent to jail for another offense, another crime. Then came the darker, scarier years. Christopher started spending time in London's nightclubs. He started using dangerous drugs like GHB. He started using substances that pulled him further and further away from his family. Pierce kept trying to reach out. He kept trying to help. He paid for expensive lawyers. He paid for doctors and medical bills. He paid for rehab treatment over and over again, but nothing worked. Nothing helped Christopher get better. Pierce said later, "I hate what this world did to him. I hate that I couldn't stop it." That one sentence says everything. It tells you the whole story. The hate wasn't for his son. The hate was for the powerlessness, the feeling of being unable to help. That powerlessness destroyed both of them emotionally. By 2024, Christopher had vanished again. Disappeared. He was only seen once, looking thin and tired outside a grocery store in London, and that was it. Number 3. Barbara Broccoli, the queen who cut him loose. She was supposed to be like family. That's what Pierce Brosnan truly believed about Barbara Broccoli. She was the woman who inherited the entire Bond empire from her father, Cubby Broccoli. She had promised Pierce things like continuity, loyalty, and class. These were values that Brosnan respected very deeply. He believed in these things. Instead, she became the person who ended his reign as Bond, and she did it with just one single, cold phone call. In the early 2000s, Brosnan was standing at the very peak of his global fame. He was at the top of the world. His movies Golden Eye, Tomorrow Never Dies, The World Is Not Enough, and Die Another Day had brought James Bond back from near extinction. The franchise was almost dead before Pierce saved it. Together, those 4 films earned more than $4 billion worldwide. That's a huge amount of money. Pierce had every single reason in the world to think he would return for a 5th Bond adventure. A 5th movie. Then one day, while he was relaxing and vacationing in the Bahamas, the phone call came. It was a producer's voice on the other end, but it wasn't Barbara's voice. The person said, "You were a great James Bond. Thank you very much. Goodbye." 47 seconds. That's how long the call lasted. That was how an entire decade of loyal service ended. Just like that. Behind that short message stood Barbara Broccoli. She was the real decision maker. She wanted a younger, edgier version of Bond. Someone different. Insiders who worked at Pinewood Studios later revealed secret information. They said that Barbara and her co-producer Michael G. Wilson had already been secretly testing other actors for the role. They were screen testing replacements months and months before they ever told Pierce anything. He thought they were family. One crew member said, but they were quietly cutting him out, getting rid of him behind his back. Brosnan later admitted to Esquire magazine, "It was utterly shocking, completely shocking. I thought we were going to make Bond 21 together. Then suddenly, it was over, just finished." He never said Barbara's name publicly in a negative way. But his tone changed completely whenever her name came up in interviews. That warmth and friendliness he once had for the Broccoli family, it turned into polite distance, cold politeness. Number 4. Timothy Dalton, the friend who took his destiny. You probably wouldn't expect Pierce Brosnan's anger to be aimed at a friend, but it was. Timothy Dalton was that friend. He was the man who unknowingly walked off with the role that was supposed to change Pierce's entire life. This betrayal was quiet, it was polite, and it was absolutely devastating to Pierce. Back in 1986, Brosnan's dream was finally within reach. He could almost touch it. Producer Albert Cubby, Broccoli had personally picked Pierce as the next James Bond. Even Ian Fleming's widow said Pierce was the perfect embodiment of 007, the perfect actor for the role. Everything pointed toward destiny. It seemed meant to be, but just as the fancy tuxedo was being tailored and fitted for him, something went wrong. NBC Television decided to revive the show Remington Steele, and Pierce's contract legally locked him into that show. He had to stay. Within just a few days, the entire Bond deal disappeared, evaporated into thin air. Timothy Dalton had been waiting in the wings for years and years. He was always the second choice for Bond. When the door finally swung open for him, he walked through it without any hesitation. He didn't wait even a second. To the public watching, it looked like a smooth, easy transition. Behind the scenes, though, it felt like a knife twist to Pierce's heart. Pierce kept his composure and stayed calm at press events. But friends said later that he watched The Living Daylights, a movie, with a forced smile on his face. Inside, his heart was broken. What made everything even worse was the timing. While Timothy Dalton was debuting as the new Bond in 1987, Pierce's wife Cassandra Harris was fighting ovarian cancer. She was dying. This was the same woman who had introduced Pierce to Cubby Broccoli years earlier. The woman who helped make his Bond dream possible. Losing the Bond role meant more than just losing a job or losing money. It meant failing the woman who believed in him the most, the woman who had faith in him. Brosnan said later, "I had to smile through it all." That line sounds calm and peaceful, but it hides very deep resentment and anger underneath. When Pierce finally became James Bond in 1995, the victory felt hollow. It felt empty, like it came too late and cost too much. Number 5. Meryl Streep, the goddess who made him miserable. Everyone thought working with Meryl Streep would be a dream come true. Except for Pierce Brosnan. Behind all the glitter and shine of Mamma Mia and the fun ABBA songs, their collaboration together became one of the most uncomfortable experiences of Pierce's entire career. One of the worst times he ever had on a movie set. When the cast arrived in Greece in 2007 to film the movie, Brosnan believed this was going to be the light-hearted, fun film he really needed. He needed something easy and happy after years and years of personal loss. After so much sadness in his life, he was still grieving and mourning his late wife Cassandra. He wanted something healing, something human and warm. Instead, he walked onto a movie set where Meryl Streep's perfectionism ruled and controlled everything. Crew members said later that she controlled every single rehearsal, every camera angle, every note of every song. She was in charge of it all. People described her as a storm of genius and chaos. She was brilliant, but also chaotic and hard to work with. Pierce tried his best to adapt and adjust to her style, but the imbalance wore him down over time. It exhausted him. Meryl Streep's intensity and strong personality collided with his gentle, calm rhythm. Pierce valued calm leadership and kindness. Meryl commanded the stage like a general in the military, like someone running a war. Reports from insiders painted Meryl as distant, dismissive, and occasionally even scathing and mean toward the crew members. Brosnan hated seeing people get belittled and treated badly. Christine Baranski, another actress in the film, hinted years later that one A-list co-star made filming an absolute nightmare, a terrible experience. Fans connected the dots instantly. They figured out she was talking about Meryl Streep. Brosnan never confirmed it out loud. He never said yes or no, but he skipped several promotional events for the movie. He avoided speaking about Mamma Mia for months and months afterward. His silence told the story better than any words could. What began as a musical paradise and dream project turned into a battlefield of egos and exhaustion. A war zone of big personalities and tiredness. Pierce admired Muriel's incredible talent. Who didn't? Everyone knows she's talented, but he never admired her methods or the way she treated people. In his eyes, she turned joy and happiness into control and domination. She made something fun into something stressful. So, which of these 5 betrayals shocked you the most? Surprised you the most? Was it the friend who took his role, the son who broke his heart, or the legend who turned against him? Tell us what you think down in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notification bell, because the next story we tell will reveal a side of Holly you've never, ever seen before.